LaMelo Ball will never win an NBA championship. Not because he isn't talented, but because the way he plays basketball is fundamentally incompatible with how championships are actually won. And before this turns into a comment section war, let's set the tone correctly. This is not about highlights, this is not about vibes, this is not about whether LaMelo is fun to watch. This is about winning 4 playoff series against elite defenses where every weakness is hunted and every bad habit is exposed. And that's where LaMelo's game falls apart. Here's the question that lives in every fan's head, even if they don't want to admit it. If LaMelo is this good, why doesn't his team win? At first, the excuses feel reasonable. A bad roster, a small market, some injuries, and then some front office issues. But at some point, those excuses stop holding weight, because we've watched other point guard led teams win despite imperfect situations. So eventually, the conversation has to shift away from circumstance and towards style. Because how you play matters just as much as how talented you are. When a point guard is the best player on a championship team, there is one universal trait they all share. They control the game. They don't force shots and overdribble for their highlight reel. They aren't heavy on social media momentum, which is a real thing that some fans don't see, and real point guards focus on the actual rhythm of basketball. They dictate the pace, the spacing, the shot quality, and also the emotional flow of the team. And this is where LaMelo immediately separates himself from the guards who win. LaMelo does better when there is chaos, which shouldn't be the case, and that's why championship guards eliminate it. There's a difference between creativity and control. And there's only a select few teams where the superstar gets both freedom to do whatever he wants and the green light to shoot. LaMelo plays with freedom, he improvises, and he does react in real time. That sounds like a compliment, and during the regular season, it is. But playoff basketball punishes improvisation. Look at guards who have led teams deep into June, let alone led teams to the playoffs in the first place. Stephen Curry doesn't dominate the ball as much as you think, but he dominates decisions. Every movement he makes forces a reaction. Every defender has their nightmare, and most of them say that guarding Curry off the ball is the worst thing to do. If you want to see how the Warriors do in the playoffs this year, make sure you're subscribed. Luka is definitely not the fastest player in the league, but every dribble and every move pulls the defense slightly out of position. These guys don't see what happens, they make something happen. LaMelo explores options instead of forcing outcomes, and that distinction is everything. When watching the Hornets play and when LaMelo brings the ball up the court, you'll notice something right away. He dribbles a ton. Not to break defenses down, but to search. He'll probe the perimeter, pull the ball back out, hesitate, retreat dribble, reset the offense, then try something late in the shot clock. Sometimes it leads to a ridiculous pass or a deep three. Other times it leads to nothing. But here's the issue people miss. Even when it works, it often comes too late. Championships offenses create advantages early in possessions. LaMelo creates them way too late. That's why his teams struggle in half-court offense and clutch situations. In the 2024-25 season, Charlotte ranked in the bottom 3 teams in clutch offensive rating, despite LaMelo leading the team in usage when healthy. That's not bad luck, that's style. A lot of fans can say the same thing for other guards around the league. The biggest argument you'll see this for is Luka Doncic. But Luka dominates the ball too. This is where the argument always goes next. People say, what about Luka? He dominates the ball and wins. And this is the perfect comparison because it highlights exactly why LaMelo can't be that guy. Luka uses ball dominance to simplify the game. LaMelo uses ball dominance to complicate it. Luka hunts mismatches relentlessly. He identifies the weakest defender and attacks him until the defense breaks. LaMelo hunts moments, highlights, and openings that might appear. Luka's possessions end with layups, free throws, and wide open threes, while LaMelo's possessions often end with off-balance pull-ups, late clock grenades, and high difficulty attempts. Even when Luka holds the ball for 15 seconds, teammates know exactly where shots are coming from. With LaMelo, teammates wait, and waiting kills rhythm. Another thing fans might say is that LaMelo is a great passer. Although this is true, and the stats can back it up, the eye test takes us away from him. On paper, LaMelo looks like an elite playmaker. He's averaged around 7 to 8 assists per game for his whole career, That number definitely pops, but assists don't tell you how an offense functions. There are two types of assists. The first assists come in from the advantage assist, where they're created by forcing defensive breakdowns, and the second one, improvisational assists, created by reacting late. LaMelo leans heavily towards the second type. They're flashy, they're creative, and they're definitely fun to watch. But once late regular season and playoffs roll around, the top defenses will show that these moves won't work against them. They won't overreact, they won't gamble, and they will wait for you to make the first mistake. And LaMelo's game gives them plenty of opportunities. Another thing about LaMelo is that he's scoring without reliability. Yes, he can definitely score, but his scoring profile is volatile. He relies heavily on deep pull-up threes, early clock jumpers, and low margin shot attempts. Just last season, LaMelo shot 40% from the field while carrying star level usage. That's not efficient enough to anchor a championship offense. Now compare that to Steph. Even when Steph's shot isn't falling, his off-ball movement bends defenses. He creates offense without touching the ball. When LaMelo's shot isn't falling, his impact drops sharply because his gravity is tied directly to making tough shots. The worst part about this is that most of his shots are coming from behind the arc. So if LaMelo is having a bad shooting day, not only will the stat sheet show it, but the scoreboard will as well. Because the Hornets will definitely be losing that game when he's shooting numbers like 2 for 8, 3 for 14, and 0 from 8 from deep. That's dangerous in the playoffs. The best guards in the league can't dodge one thing: having the ability to play championship level defense. You can hide role players on defense, but you cannot hide your franchise player. LaMelo is inconsistent defensively. He ball watches, he gambles for steals, and he struggles navigating screens. Championship guards aren't always elite defenders, but they are disciplined. Steph fights through actions, SGA anticipates lanes, and they don't freelance. LaMelo does. And when your best player treats defense like an optional part of the game, the entire team identity suffers. LaMelo has always been an average or below average defender his whole time in the league, and the stats definitely prove it. During the 24-25 season, he had a defensive rating of 117. We can take that and compare it to someone like James Harden, who is always said to be a bad defender no matter who you ask. He actually has a defensive rating of 110. Just to put it in perspective, the best defenders in the league have a defensive rating anywhere from 105 to 110, with the worst defenders having anywhere from 115 to 120. LaMelo is statistically at the bottom for defenders across the league. The biggest factor when it comes to a guard being a superstar on the team is leadership. LaMelo leads with confidence and flair. Championship point guards lead with authority. They slow the game down, they demand spacing, and they enforce discipline. When things get chaotic, they bring order. LaMelo does the opposite. When pressure rises, his instinct is to do more, not do better. More dribbles, harder shots, and riskier passes. That might win a random February game, which the Hornets seem to be really good at doing right now, but it does not win playoff games. And here's why the playoffs would expose him. The playoffs remove everything LaMelo relies on: freedom, loose coverage, and defensive mistakes. Defenses would force him into predictable reads, take away transition chaos, and make him operate patiently. And patience has never been the foundation of his game. Unless LaMelo is paired with a dominant stabilizer, someone who anchors the defense, controls tempo, and absorbs pressure, his weaknesses become impossible to hide. So here's the question: can LaMelo ever win a championship? Yes, he can, just not as a sole superstar. He can thrive as a secondary creator, a chaos weapon, and a luxury playmaker, but championships are built on control, discipline, and efficiency. And LaMelo's game right now is built on freedom, flair, and risk. The Hornets have gotten really lucky in being able to get Colin Kneppel in the draft, as he has been able to take pressure away from LaMelo and Brandon Miller. But will this roster be able to compete during the playoffs? Here's the final reality. LaMelo Ball is one of the most entertaining players in the NBA right now. He's must-watch TV. He's highlight gold. But championships don't care about entertainment. They care about habits. And until LaMelo fundamentally changes how he plays, how he dribbles, how he defends, and how he leads, he will never win an NBA championship as the sole superstar. Not because he isn't talented, but because his game, by design, isn't built to win.